A lot of people over the years have asked me how it is that I turned out to be very successful and a good person and all this stuff. And the main answer is this person right here. This is my Nana. She would be 112 years old today. And she was a nurse, head nurse at a hospital in Little Rock, Arkansas. She desegregated that hospital pretty much by herself back when they used to have a ward for white patients and then black patients. And then one night she said there was just so many patients, and she told her nurses, she said, fuck it, just put everybody in beds. I don't care. I don't want this segregation anymore. And so everybody desegregated that hospital that night. And then after that, the NAACP came to her and said, we heard you desegregated this hospital, and we're in works with Eisenhower, it's whoever, to try to desegregate the schools. And so we wanted to ask you how you did this desegregation of this hospital. And she said, I just did it and there was no blowback. I mean, she used whatever word, blowback was used back then. So she couldn't be very much help to them, but she tried. Anyway, this is how amazing my grandmother is. She was born 112 years ago. She had polio. She beat it with the help of her family that put hot rags around her legs constantly, because that's how you had to cure polio. I think they still do this. You put hot rags around your legs to straighten your legs out or whatever. So then after that, she grew up on a farm. There were like 9 or 10 kids. She had to do all the farm stuff. Then she became a nurse, and she lived through World War II and the Great Depression. And she saw the moon landing, and she saw computers and all this stuff. But to me, I always think about Nana as having raised me, because my mother and my father took off. They didn't want to raise me. So they left when I was in the 4th grade, and then again a couple of years later. Like, I didn't see my dad for, most of my entire childhood. And I didn't see my mother for more than half of my childhood. But my Nana was there, and she's the one who raised me, along with my brother and my sister raised me too. And anyway, I want to talk about Nana very briefly here, because it would be her 112th birthday today. I'm sure she'd be very happy that she's not here for it. She'd be very upset with Republicans. Let me tell you something. She did not like Republicans. She would go, ooh, those Republicans, they're stinkers. She would go, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. That's how she talked. She would watch the news, and back, in the olden days, I would get home from school and we'd watch the news together. And back then, Reagan was the president, and there was all this talk at the beginning of the Reagan years that he was going to get rid of Social Security for people like her who had put money into Social Security her whole life. Reagan was anti-Social Security. He thought it was communism. Anyway, so she hated Reagan and she hated Republicans. She wasn't a very religious person, but she would walk around the house humming all the time, and I could never tell if she was like humming hymns or something. And I know she had a religion, but she kept it to herself. She wouldn't have wanted to talk anybody out of their religion, because that's not who she was either. She used to have, my sister and I, we talk about Nana-isms. And one of the Nana-isms that I remember very clearly was she would go, everybody's entitled to their own stupid opinion. So Nana was not very happy with my parents. She would occasionally, we would be like, eating like Cheetos and watching some movie together, and she would just turn to me and she would go, Douglas, do not turn out like your mother. Or Douglas, do not turn out like your father. So since Nana had been a farm girl, she was like always cooking like farm food. So I woke up almost every single day of my high school years. I'd be laying there and I wake up and there'd be a plate of food under my nose, because I was always a night owl and I was always sleeping in, and Nana would slide this food under my nose every morning, and I would wake up to the smell of eggs and bacon and toast every single day. And then I would go, ah. She would go, Douglas, get up and get out of bed and go to school and make something out of your life and be a productive member of society. She was like a motivational speaker on top of everything else. And then there was this other Nana-ism where she would go, idle hands are the devil's workshop. She was always trying to get everybody to do stuff, like get up, go do stuff. But the other thing is that Nana was a very fun person too. So she had really like no respect for televangelists. And every now and then we would be sitting at like a table or somewhere or in the living room or something. And then she would kind of like just slyly walk up to us and then put the palm of her hand like right here and then gently push, like just a little, like nothing to hurt you. She would just go like this. And then she would very quietly, like a televangelist, go, "You are healed." And then she would throw her hair back. She would go, "You are healed." I was just talking to my sister last night about the time that I bought for her birthday. I got her a Chippendales calendar. So it was a calendar with all these like naked men. And so she opened it up and man, that she laughed so hard that she had to hold her dentures in. So she always had these dentures. And she was always like, dentures, dentures, dentures. When she was older, she was walking around on these old polio legs that barely worked. And she had 2 hearing aids. She was like, she went through a lot. She survived heart attacks, heart failure, all this stuff, you know. She would also do this thing that we always got a kick out of where Nana would sometimes just be walking through the house and she would say this phrase from this old movie or a song. And it went, "What can you do with a drunken sailor?" And I think like, well, she was a nurse. She probably met quite a few drunken sailors in her day, you know. I hope she had a fun life with sailors, you know. And then she would say all these other fun little things like, "Ooh, it's colder than a well digger's behind." My sister says that every time I quote Nana, I always go, "Ooh," but that's because she said "ooh" a lot. She was always like, "Ooh, it's time for lunch." Very frequently talk about my Nana being like my Obi-Wan Kenobi because like wherever I go, there she is. You know, like she supported me all the time. My mom and my dad never came to come see me play violin in high school, even though I was an all-state violinist. I know that you think all-state is just like, you know, sports, but you know, I was an all-state violinist. I got a scholarship, as I say in every single video, and my mom and dad never came to come see me. But my grandmother, with her polio legs, one time walked with me uphill for a mile, just like apocryphal story, but true. She came up to the high school and she watched me play, and I was first chair, first violin. So she got the whole experience, and she was so proud of me, you know. A few weeks after Nana died, I was sleeping, and then I woke up in the middle of the night. I sat up, and then I looked at the end of the bed, and there was Nana. And she was not, it was her face, and then her body, it was like a shell, you know, like this beautiful cream shell instead of a human body. And I said, and I looked at her, and then she didn't say anything, but I could hear her with her mind saying, "Everything's going to be all right." And whether you believe that she was a ghost or whether that was part of my psyche that night, whatever you want to believe, that part doesn't matter. What matters is someone loved me that much that she saved my life. And so sometimes when I'm talking to friends of mine that are parents and they are upset because they haven't accomplished something in life or they haven't done enough this or enough that, but I know that they're good parents, I always say, look, the important thing is you're a good parent and that you're good at raising children. And I'm not here talking about abortion or any of that stuff. I'm talking about people that are already alive in front of you. Love them and make sure they know that you love them. Don't be a welcome mat and don't let them walk all over you or whatever. But if you're going to have children, if you're raising grandchildren, whoever you're raising, just do it the way you know you're supposed to, like Nana did. Nana knew how to raise me, and she raised me the right way. She didn't save my hair, sadly. She couldn't save my beautiful, luscious hair. But that's not her fault. I love you, Nana. Happy birthday. And I love you. I hope you're having the best Nana birthday you could possibly have.